a Noble Media Group member.
America's known our share of tyrants. In response to tyranny, we created one of the greatest guiding documents ever written by mankind. We stood for what was right. We've also made mistakes, but we corrected those mistakes by fighting for what was right both inside our borders and beyond. Today, America faces another challenge: Christian nationalism. Misguided faith and misguided patriotism justifying misguided deeds.
Turn the hearts of those who are in power and position to make decisions.
That's circle, breach the line.
That's not who we are, America. The Constitution is as true today as the day it was ratified. America stands for freedom, and America stands for doing what's right. And it's time we start restoring the American dream. Hello, everybody, and welcome to Restoring the American Dream. I'm here with Michael Faulkner and Lee Rouson, and this is part 2 of our Juneteenth special that we're doing. Thank you for joining us. Michael, good to see you, my friend.
Yes, it is great to be here, and I got to tell you, if you're watching and you know that kind of the New York Knicks are they're now America's team, America's basketball team, and my wife and I went up to the city yesterday just to soak in the atmosphere and to be part of it, and it was amazing. It was just amazing, kind of crazy, a little crazy, but
Yeah.
it was 2 million people out in the street today for the parade. It was just 2 million folk out in the street, and Lee, it was just incredible. Lee's been part of at least 2 of those parades, with the football giants. You and I attended one of them together. The last one we actually attended together, but this was nothing like that. It was kind of crazy, but everybody was so happy and excited. So it was at some point I'll weave that into to restoring the American dream and how that team epitomized so much. I mean, they'll be making references about we're never sure but that kind of record we're not expecting, even if they do repeat or whatever. I mean, that kind of run is just epic, to win that many games.
Isn't that the beautiful thing about sports? I mean, how so many people can just get behind it. Doesn't matter what color you are. It doesn't matter, what language, any of that stuff. All of us can just band together and get behind it and just root on our favorite teams and just be impressed by the amazing ability of Americans to to play in sports and how amazing some of these people are as athletes. And you two guys were one of those, by the way. It's both of you two guys were some of the amazing ones for sure. So yeah, it is a big happy spot in our country. So yeah,
it is and we started last on Tuesday talking about the Juneteenth celebration, what it was about, how it came about. And if you were not part of it, you know that we are joined by special guests, one of my dearest friends in the whole wide world, Lee Rouson, who was a 2-time Super Bowl winner with the New York Giants, and literally born into the civil rights struggle, as his father was a security and a confidant for Malcolm X, and was there on the night that he was assassinated. So Lee was actually as a baby, was in the Audubon Ballroom, and that was just kind of a whoa,
yeah.
you know.
And that story you told Lee about your background and how you grew up and got football. I just got to tell you, that was just very, very, very moving. And folks, if you're watching this right now, make sure you go back and watch the first one, because I'm sure Michael probably knew the story. I'm assuming you did, Michael, but I didn't hear it. I didn't know it, and I listened to that, and I was just absolutely blown away and amazed by what you've done, Lee. So just Thank you, and that was just an amazing story. Thank you. So I'll let you go ahead and
Welcome.
take it over, Michael, because I know you
Yeah,
want to move
yeah.
into
So
some.
we want to talk tonight about the continued work of freedom. So the first part was about America's journey toward freedom, but I wanted to talk tonight about the finishing work of freedom. And one of those questions is that as we finish the work of freedom, and that's what Juneteenth is about, right?
Mhm.
It was the last vestige of American the last vestige of the that brand of American slavery. Okay, it was the last vestige of the antebellum slavery
Mm-hmm.
in America after the Civil War. It
And
was
Michael, what you were going to lead up to also that what had happened at the very end that we were going to get to, we didn't quite get to it, but on June 19th, 1865, if I recall, is
right.
that what led to this? Again, I'm not. I just want to make sure because it's we didn't quite get to that last time, and I think that this was one of those points you want to really make too.
Right. So April 9th, the Civil War, April 9th, 1865, the Civil War ends as Robert E. Lee surrenders to Grant in Appomattox Schoolhouse. But the very next, and you would think that, okay, now everybody is free. I mean, because the Emancipation Proclamation had
Mm-hmm.
been signed in 1863, January, but it had not become the law of the land. But now, here with the Confederate States of America being defeated, being surrendered, and now the nation starts to look at Reconstruction. Still, in June 19th in Galveston, Texas, when General Granger arrived, he found that there were 250,000 African Americans still enslaved. They did not know that they were free. They were unaware that they had been granted freedom because
Amazing,
the war was over.
amazing. Yeah,
It,
yeah.
it is amazing.
Two hundred and
And
fifty thousand.
250,000. Now
Amazing.
that's a lot of people. And just the because in places like in Virginia, as soon as the swords were laid down and they saw these Confederate soldiers now leaving with only their sidearms and just leaving, and they and Lincoln had an expression that he used called "let them down easy." He did
Hmm.
not want to humiliate the Southern soldiers. He did not want to humiliate them, but they did have to lay down their arms and
Yeah.
pledge an allegiance to
Right.
the Constitution of the United States. That was the only way, to move forward. But back to the Juneteenth celebration, it was the last vestige of antebellum slavery that ended in Galveston, Texas, as General Granger rides in or arrives on shore and lets everybody know, hey, this is over, this is done, the war is over, you are free, and it was a huge celebration called Juneteenth, and that's why we celebrate it. But I've linked that to kind of as Americans right now, are we free?
Hmm.
Are we free as Americans? Are we really free? Who are we? Are we really free? And I thought about this, and this was because, part of the reason I was in New York was to attend and be part of a conference there that was put on by 100 Black men in America. And during some of the outtakes or some of the sidebar conversations I was having with some of the leaders, they were kind of, and these are older guys my age. We were talking about kind of the state of Black America. Are we
Hmm.
really? Where are we really? And in terms of our freedom, our cultural, we have allowed, and this is Michael's opinion, this is Michael
Hmm.
saying this, we have allowed our cultural identity to trump our spiritual reality. So we worship at the altar of cultural relativity.
Hmm.
Now, that could be said about all of America. It literally can be said about all of America. And culture is a very important thing. And the Bible doesn't speak against culture. It just says that culture must be subordinate to the interests of God. Culture must be subordinate
Right.
to the reality of Jesus. right? And so you can sing about, you can sing anything you want, any style, or cook any kinds of food. So there's no ungodly way. It's just when we worship anything or anyone other than the Lord God, creator of heaven and earth, that becomes idolatry.
Mm.
And we have become a nation of idol worshipers.
Oh,
We
okay.
we it's cultural relativity. And now I know this is, Brian, you're going, well, wait, where are we going?
No,
Where
you
are we
never
going with
lead me
this?
wrong. You never lead me
Okay,
wrong, Reverend.
here's the thing. This country was founded on the principle that we have to have a moral people. There has to be a moral compass. John Adams said
Sure.
that this Constitution was made for a religious people, and it is wholly unsuited for any other. And I roughly,
Right.
that's a paraphrase, but
Right. Right.
that was John Adams, one of the founders, signed, and the second president of the United States. So it ties into who we are as a people. I'm not talking about necessarily religious, but to have a moral compass. What I'm saying right now is we have allowed our cultural um, appetite for sensationalism, for consumerism, and for a lot of other things to uh, move us from that place of moral focus, in which we as a nation, we are a nation of consumers. We are a nation, and we consume anything that's going to, we have an insatiable appetite for entertainment, as
Yeah.
seen by the White House's last,
Right.
the cage match on the White House lawn.
Right.
It's like we've become a nation of consumers, and that is destroying our ability to have a positive uh, impact. Now, it's not all loss,
Right. No, I agree
as
with you. Yeah.
it's not all lost, but we've got work to do in that. But I want to come back to one thing, and then I'm going to kick it to Lee, because Lee, you and I have talked about this many times. But James Walden Johnson, Reverend James Walden Johnson, great poet, activist, pastor, said this. He said, "Look, in his song, which becomes, many say it's the Black national anthem, but
Hmm.
it's for African Americans. But it's lift every voice and sing, and it says, lead us. These lines: lead us into the light, keep us forever in the path we pray, lest our feet stray from the places, our God, where we met thee, lest our hearts drunk with the world, the wine of the world, we forget thee. So, lest our feet stray from the places, our God, where we met thee, lest our hearts be drunk on the wine of the world and we forget thee.
Mm.
Wow. And so
Wow.
the being drunk on the wine of the world is where we have, as a nation, we have come to that.
And the what proves that is that after Juneteenth, the years of the Gilded Age appeared.
Mm,
We entered into this age of tremendous wealth and industrialization, and all. I mean, America just took off as a culture throughout the whole world, and not only did it take off tremendous wealth, but also the political, um, personality developed.
mm,
That persona, that political persona of promising, like the immigrants who were coming in and everything. Well, we're going to do this and that, and so that whole age, which was like around 1870 to what 30 years past that, it entered in right after
Mm.
freedom was won. Right
Mm.
after
mm,
freedom was won through sacrifice,
Yeah.
like this, like like Pastor Michael is speaking about the words from the Negro anthem. You know, I mean, freedom was won through sacrifice, and so the challenge in our lives in terms of like, listen, I'm trying to. My grandson is a tremendous football player, and I'm trying to help him to have the mindset of being a winner.
Mm.
Not being famous, not having all of this attention that he's getting, not the money that are available to kids who are in high school right now with the NIL deals, but to become a winner. America was a winner when it won freedom.
Absolutely.
And we let it go. We let it go.
Wow. Wow.
Mm-hmm.
And to be honest, to restore the American dream, as we're talking about, we need to get a hold of that. Parents need to come back to their children. They need to have those discussions with their children. The parents need to be living that life and saying, you know, it's not all about the money. And
Yeah.
one of the things that the great stories that, you know, we're going to tell over and over and over again is Jalen Brunson for the New York Knicks. He leaves $130 million on the table.
That's right.
That he could have earned and put in his pocket in order to leave money for the team to pay other great athletes to join him. He put team above his own personal prosperity.
He made a sacrifice so that they would become winners. That's, I mean, that was what drove him. He's like, I'm a winner. I want to win. I won before. I won at Vanderbilt. I mean, he's probably won but wherever he was before that, he was a winner.
Right.
He knew that sacrifice was the way. He knew it. We have to know that's the way.
Yeah. Yeah.
100%.
And unless we can restore that drive to sacrifice, I had thought that this quote was from Martin Luther King Jr. that until all of us are free, none of us are free. But it was really by Emma Lazarus, you know, by a Jewish young lady, a Jewish immigrant, Emma Lazarus, who was a Jewish activist. She actually wrote the words that were on the poem, The Great Colossus, for the Statue of Liberty. She wrote those words, give me your poor, your tired, your huddled masses, yearning to be free. She wrote that poem for that, but she was the one that quoted until we are all free, none of us are free. Now let me spin that into what I'm talking about the American dream. If we are not drawn to that work ethic that made this country great, that mutual edification of the good of for the good of, you know, for the good of the nation. You know, ask not what you can do for your country, ask what your country can do. Ask not what you can do, what your country can do for you, but what you can do for your country. You see, that drive to serve the interests of one another has got to be at the core of our citizenship, you know, and until it does, because consumerism, listen, we are driven people. You know, we're driven entrepreneurs, we're driven by political interests, we're driven by a lot of stuff culturally. And I'm not saying we're going to change that overnight, because we all, you know, kind of aspire to that. However, when there is a collective, like Lee, you were saying, a sacrifice, you know, because nothing of significance ever happens without a sacrifice. That was the reason that World War II, you know, I mean, it was a horrible, tremendous sacrifice on the part of this country. Rations, you know, you hear some of this stuff our parents went through and grandparents went through, rations
Mm-hmm.
there was no chocolates, there was such a shortages on everything. Everything was for the war efforts. Can you imagine? Can you imagine? We certainly are not equipped to go through that now.
Yeah.
Now we fall apart at the government shutdowns. We fall apart at the seams. It's like, oh, this is, we fall apart at the seams. Gas prices. No, listen. I'm not, this is look, I believe that, and we're going to get into a long protracted debate or on the Iran deal and kind of where that's going to lead us. But we've got to, when we band together, there's nobody that can equal us.
Mm-hmm.
You
Yeah.
know,
And
Yeah.
that's because of what happened in terms of the freedom that was won through sacrifice by the generations that have come before us. And I'm now
100%. Yeah. Yep.
I'm
Yep.
pointing
Yep.
this, I'm making that statement to point to the generations that are living today and the ones to come. Hope was passed through that sacrifice.
mm,
Just for example, a great hope. And so that says, so what are we going to do with that freedom that was
mm,
passed on to us?
Mm.
wow,
Yeah.
wow.
That's a good thought. Yeah. Yeah.
Lee, I want to get back to something that so your father, after Malcolm was assassinated, had every reason to be bitter. He had gone through, I mean, this racism, all this, had every reason to be kind of embittered. How was it that you, at 8 years old, had this vision for racial reconciliation that made you cross the color line and even face the ridicule of your father, your
Your
own
father.
father,
Yeah. Yeah.
at
You,
8 years old? Or was it? It was 10 years old, right? 10
10,
years
yeah,
old.
10.
10 years old.
Pastor Michael, I really appreciate that question because I was kicked out of the schools. I'm banned from speaking in the schools in Fort Worth, Texas forever. And South Carolina, those are the only two places where when I shared that story, everybody got upset.
Hmm.
Mm,
And you can't share that story here. And I was like, it was just a story that really happened in my life. And if there was any real tension, it wasn't between white people and black people. It was between my father and me.
Hmm.
It was between my father and me. I was just sharing the story. The storyline just involved the time that we were living and the things that were going on.
Hmm.
My my father was the type of man who again he I don't know if I mentioned this, but he constantly communicated to me, I'm not raising males in this house. I'm raising men.
Hmm.
You are going to make your own choice. And that's one reason why when I speak in schools throughout America, I have a mantra. I go, you're not born winners, you're not born losers, you're born choosers.
Hmm.
My father he raised me up, Pastor Michael, to learn how to choose, to learn how to make choices that are difficult.
mm,
He put me in those situations all the time. He would not make a choice. He said, "You're going to make this choice,"
mm,
even if he didn't agree with it.
wow, wow.
Incredible. Incredible. Can I ask you a question, the both of you, if I could just be blunt?
Please.
Where are we today? Uh, I mean, Juneteenth is tomorrow, and certainly this country has come a long way over the many years, certainly over the last 150 years. Where are we today as a country with race?
Mm,
Um, are, is it really that much better? Um, Have we turned the corner? Are you optimistic about it? Are you pessimistic about it? I'd love to get your thoughts because we've only got a few minutes left, but I'd love to have your thoughts on such an important day that should be, absolutely historic. Where we're at today.
Yeah. I think the polarization that has happened, I'll just say this real brief. I think the polarization that has happened, the led by the MAGA movement, polarizing us into to two camps. Those who agree with the president and those who disagree with him. And the reversal, the reversal and the removal. Now, I'm saying this as a conservative, politically conservative Republican.
Right.
I'm saying this. I'm not a Trump hater. Okay. But I love this country. I love my country. I love I read the Constitution. I understand it. And there are some stark departures from what I believe are legal, ethical things that are being done
100%.
in the name of political expediency that have weakened our nation, and it's polarizing us. So on the issue of race, I think the issue of race, we've taken some steps back. However, good sound people, good-minded people are not going to allow that to happen to them. But I don't want any voice that, like us raising those questions, it says, oh, he's just a liberal or she's just a liberal, blah, blah, blah. No, I'm an American.
Yeah.
And so that's how I feel about that. Lee.
Well, I do this little jingle. I go, I used to be so sinful. I used to be so prideful. I used to be so hateful. I was a member of the Adams family. Boom, 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 boom. But now I belong to Jesus because his spirit frees us. Jesus family. Boom, 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 boom. Okay, so what my point is, going back to the beginning, see, the problem really is not racism. That's just it appears to be that, and so many of us are caught up in it. Our problem is our identity.
Okay.
We fail to identify and be who we are really. So we identify and we're somebody who we're really not. I'm not a member of the Adams family. I'm a member of Jesus' family.
There you go.
So when we fail to choose our true identity, it's a major problem. And then so all other kind of stuff starts popping out. Racism, whatever kind of ism. It's all there, and it's created and made up by us, by human beings.
Yeah.
And we're caught up in something that was just made up by us. And we keep making it up. Rather than like I tell kids, I go, there's a suffix. It's spelled CIDE. It means to kill. When you put a prefix in front of it, it tells you to kill what? Like homicide means to kill somebody, suicide means to kill yourself, pesticide and insecticide means to kill some insects or some rodents. But when you decide who you are really, you kill who you're not.
That's a good one. I may have to keep that one.
Most of us fail to decide who we are really.
I like that.
And I don't know if we ever it's going to be a place in this human lifetime that's going to happen. But I know this: God has a remnant.
Okay.
Okay. And there are people all over this planet who can decide who they are really, despite what everybody else does.
There you go.
Yeah.
There you go. I love it. I know we're at the end of our time, but man, those are some powerful words, Michael and Lee. And it gives me it makes me feel good going into the next year, towards the next Juneteenth. I'm hopeful that people will watch this and listen to it, and as you said, decide on who they are. and what they need to be. And as Michael said, remember that we're all Americans.
Right.
You
And,
you guys are wonderful. Yeah. Go
and
ahead, Michael.
what real freedom really means, what
Freedom
real
is
freedom really is.
100%.
Amen. Amen.
Yeah. You guys are fabulous. I just am amazed by both of you. I know we're at the end of our time here, but I just want to say once again, thank you so much, both of you, for being who you are and doing what you do, and certainly Lee for joining us here. It's been a genuine pleasure. Everybody, if you haven't already, if you're watching this, you're watching it from YouTube. Please subscribe to our channel. You'll get to watch this wonderful show and amazing folks like Michael and Lee. They're just some amazingly truly people. And if you like it, press the like button. If you've got a question, drop a question. We'll read it out on air. We've done it many, many times before. You'll also get the political arena. We've got another show that's completely apolitical. It's called The Hinge of History, and we're going to add some more shows. And this is the kind of stuff that you get. Very, 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 very powerful stuff, like what these two gentlemen here have done. And thank you both so much. Yeah, it's wow. Thank you, Michael. Yeah, you've done a wonderful
Yeah.
job with this, my friend. And
Absolutely. Restoring the American dream. So join us next Tuesday.
Restoring the American dream.
Yes, that's it.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. And you've done a wonderful job with it, Michael. And thank you again, Lee. I hope you'll join us more often because, man, you take my breath away every once in a while. So thank you, everybody. Thank you for joining us tonight, and we will see you this next Tuesday.
All right.
You've been watching Reverend Michael's Restoring the American Dream. The Noble Media Group is on all major social media platforms. Make sure to give us a follow so you can watch this show and many others.
A Noble Media Group member.